Greetings, heathens and ne'er-do-wells. I'm Don, the philosophical Satanist, and it's another time for another part in my Exploring Demonology series, which is now blown out to about the better part of 2.5 hours worth of collected information in videos. I can't wait until I can sit down and edit together something with this. So this is going to be a bit of a continuation on the correct mindset when working with demons video that you'll actually find inside this group. Yes, I'm making this video speaking directly to the demonology group you wish existed, because this is a new project, and I think it's high time that these wonderful beings actually get the proper respect and recognition that they deserve. Now, this video's title is Are Demons Really Evil? Now, the answer is no, right? Spoilers, the answer is no. That's the short, simple answer. But, if you're anything like me, a demonologist, like a Satanist, you're about digging a little bit deeper. So the simple answers probably aren't going to satisfy you. So now, I've just said demons are not evil, that they're not harmful, that they're perfectly safe to treat with. So why, at this statement, are white magicians or the heavily religious, why are their heads starting to rotate and steam coming out their ears, and they may very well feel like screaming at the screen that that's completely untrue and that I'm telling you lies? Well, there's a very good reason for that. Now, in order for the reason to make sense, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on my own experience as to how I can make that statement. So I've been working with spirits of many different varieties for the better part of 2 decades. I started off with dragons and dragon magic, and I also my jam is fantastic creatures, fantasy creatures, things like that. The Nordic trolls are cool. They're some funky dudes. But I started off my workings with these things like animal spirits and stuff like that as well, from a shamanic perspective. So it was more about spirit allies that you could use in the astral realm to actually lend you power, lend you advice, things like that. So now inside of shamanic practice, you don't cast a whole pile of wards and protections and all of that sort of thing. I'd bring them into my rituals, but I'd never have a specific ritual. Like, you didn't need to be protected in order to deal with them. And I got talking with someone once, and I said that when I said that I work with dragons, they were a bit aghast, and they're like, "Oh, that's really dangerous." And I didn't understand why. And what they had to say about dragons, that they're fierce, and they're grouchy, and they're untrustworthy, and when they worked with them, they caused a lot of trouble inside that person's life. And I don't doubt that it did for them, but to me, they'd never been anything but cordial and friendly, and I'd always gotten along. They're amongst the best spirit friends that I have ever had. And that's really the crux of the matter here. It's that the way you deal with them. Now, 2 spiritual, immutable rules, laws, whatever you want to call them. What you believe is. Right? That's the first one. What you believe is. even if only for you, even if just you in your world. You are human. You have the power of creation. You are the central god of your own universe. Everything happens according to the lens of your own perception. That's a rule. It doesn't change. So if you believe in something dark and evil and nasty, it will be dark and evil and nasty. If you believe that something is good and beneficial and helpful, it will be good and beneficial and helpful. The universe mirrors what you believe, what you carry in your energy. The other immutable fact was delivered by the greatest Satanist nobody's ever heard about, a man named John Ali. He said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's true. You think about a situation. I'll give you an example. A nice little story to go with this. So, when I was dealing with fantastic creatures on a shamanic line, I had a really good book by an author named DJ Conway that listed out all the creatures of fantasy and how to get in contact with them. And I don't know why she did this, but she listed a whole pile of creatures and put dangerous, not recommended. That's kind of like, Jehovah's arsehole trick of you can eat anything in the forest except for that one tree. Of course you're going to look at the tree. Now, the one that interested me the most was the manticore, and there were a whole pile of warnings attached to the manticore. And in a little exploration, I touched on the energy of the manticore, and my fear, because I'd been warned, caused me to kind of freak out and pull back. Now, for, I kid you not, 11 years, the spirit of the manticore pursued me. And I thought I was being haunted, and I thought I'd picked up something that I couldn't shake. Like, it scared me. I actually used to, call other friends to help protect me from this. And then years down the track, I found an article on manticores being just a dark magic construct, that they're actually protective. And I've done a lot of shadow work, and I've worked with darker entities, so I decided to sit down and talk to it and actually find out what the score was. So rather than being afraid and running away, I sat and I treated with it. Well, years down the track from there, this manticore spirit is, quite frankly, one of my best friends and one of the most useful spirits I have picked up along my travels. It just goes to show, when I was afraid of it, it was a menacing entity. The second I ditched my fear, the second I treated with it properly, it became my greatest ally. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. This is vital. This is really important, because what most things on demonology will tell you is that demons are dangerous, they're untrustworthy, they try and possess you, they've made up 3 levels of possession. Now, who said that? Where does that idea come from? And you're right. That idea, I've said it before, that idea comes from the religion of the cross. Most white magic, things like the Key of Solomon, the Honorius the Great, among many others, and I'm not saying they're not useful. I use the Key of Solomon myself when dealing with these entities, but the mindset, you've got to think on a historic perspective when these were created. Most of these were like the work of Honorius, right? These were Catholic priests putting demons to good use. So Solomon, the Key of Solomon, Solomon used demons to construct his temple. These were entities that were subjugated and forced, and these were written from a lens of fear and distrust, and this fear and distrust carries through. Right now, you think about it. You're going about your business, and someone calls you and forces you to be trapped inside a room. And then they say, "You will do this for me." And you're like, "I really want to do that." And all of a sudden, they're doing chance, they're causing pain, inflicting, forcing you. They force you to be their bitch, essentially. Now, they all have warnings that these must be perfect, your workings must be correct because these beings will turn on you the second they get the opportunity. Well, look, straight up, if I were that spirit and you'd put me in a little box and were torturing me and forcing me to work for you, damn straight I'd come at you if you gave me so much as half an opportunity. Anything would. So the way you treat with them, and the reason that this is the way they get treated with is because of this fear that was given to you, to us, to the workings that a lot of people are following. Right? This inherent fear that all came from a Christian-based mythology. Now, I've already talked about the fact that the demon god Jehovah, I mean, this is a being that when you enter into a pact with him and give him your soul for life eternal afterwards and all that sort of thing. I've never dealt with anything that says do everything I tell you, even the stuff that contradicts the other. And if you don't do it right, if you don't love me above all others, I will torture you for eternity. That's your loving God right there. The God that gave us free will and then wiped out the world with a flood because we didn't do what he wanted. And I'm not even going to go into the problem with omniscience here, because if he's omniscient, he knew we weren't going to do what he wanted, so he actually planned to wipe us all out anyway, unless he's not omniscient. But he's a prick. He's insane. I mean, straight up. He incarnated himself as himself to sacrifice himself to free us from a sin that he gave us. He's insane. But he won. His followers burned, raped, tortured, and pillaged their way across the land and destroyed and denigrated anything that stood against them. They integrated what they could and they demonized what they couldn't. Most demons are just ancient local gods. They were beneficial. They were the good guys. Right? They were the good guys. They were the ones people were calling to help them. And that aspect has not gone away just because an actual demon, an actual negative spirit says so. So, are demons evil? No. But there are negative things out there. There are negative entities. And a lot of the time, it's all about how you deal with them. If you've still got a mindset of fear, if you are doing this feeling guilty about the fact that you're working with, these things, if your energy is not right, what you think is, and if you think you're doing something wrong, or these things are really dark and these things are really negative, then that is the experience you are going to have, because the universe mirrors your expectations. If, however, you approach them from the perspective of making friends and you're looking for fellowship, a positive working relationship, you're respectful, you don't try and force them, because they're not going to try and force you, right? They're not. if you want their help and they tell you what it will cost, you don't have to pay it. You don't. You can stop talking to them at any time. In all truth, the very worst thing that a demon is going to do to you, if you make it's like being friends with a person, right? A person, if you want to be friends with a person, you've got to treat that person the way they want to be treated. You've got a certain expectation on the way that you will behave, and you forgive their foibles and their personality quirks. Well, you do that with a demon. So if you behave in a way that the demon doesn't like, well, it's like a person. It'll just stop being your friend, and the benefits you got from that friendship will be taken away. Now, if you've come to crutch on what this friendship was providing you, if you've come to rely upon their help, then yeah, that will unhinge your life as what you have come to rely on, and that crutch you used to walk has been taken away. But that's the worst they'll do. They'll just not be your friend anymore. They'll just not speak to you. Right? And it's like a person. That's the only threat. A person inside of the realms of friendship. That should be the only threat between friends. I won't be a friend anymore. I won't want to talk to you. I won't want to hang out with you. I won't want anything to do with you. And anything that tells you anything that tells you that if you walk away from this, you're going to be in trouble. Well, that's either one of those negative things that I've told you about, or that's actually your incorrect mindset playing with the situation. And in all truth, a proper demon, like, approached in the right way, someone like Azazel or Beelzebub, they don't behave that way, right? What you think is. So I'm going to leave you with those two truths. What you think is, and when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And no, demons are not evil. It's our minds. It's our expectations. It's our energy. It's misconception and it's bad press that can make it so. So until next we speak, this is Don the Philosophical Satanist saying Shemham Farash, hail thyself, and have a beautiful day.